Well, that's what Manchester United have always been better at, producing young players. And even if we had to buy them, fine. Because if they're young, you're buying them as Ronaldo and Wayne Rooney, young kids who are 17 years of age. They became the best players in the world, you know. So that the reason for that is because of the upbringing we give them in. You know, we're not easy on them. We give them a challenge for what they were as young kids in Sporting Lisbon and Wayne at Everton was the challenge them to be the best. So the format is right.
We'll get back to the boss in just a quick second, but remember, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. And also don't forget to click the notification button so that you know when the next Big D video hits. And also, don't forget, if you've got something to say, please put it in the comments. The Big D reads all of the comments. Anyway, in this clip, we are going to be hearing from legendary Manchester United manager and the greatest football manager in the history of the game, Sir Alex Ferguson. He's going to be answering some questions. And in this clip, we're going to see a really interesting insight into the mentality that made Alex Ferguson the man that he became, and also obviously helped Manchester United become the club that they are today, despite recent troubles. Anyway, stick around after the clip because the Big D is going to be giving his thoughts on what the boss had to say. Here he is.
But I felt that the progress that I had to make, because I didn't have the money to buy players, was to breed them. And that when I went to St. I did that. And out of that period, with 9 players became internationals, which was fantastic. A small club with St. Kent Aberdeen was exactly the same. And when they won the European Cup against Real Madrid, 7 players were brought up by the club. They played in the final. So that basic standard I took to United. Because it was easy with Manchester United, because I wanted to go back to 1950s, where Sir Mark Busby produced those fantastic players and teams. That was the motivation for me to carry on, which Sir Mark did. People who go back to realise Sir Mark Busby made this club. There's absolutely no question with that. I just followed on. And it was a joy to produce the players we did.
You talk about your graduates there. Do you know how many graduates you give debuts to? 89. 89.
Why not 90? No, I mean, we believe that. You agree, but see, managers throughout the country have a really difficult problem in modern day football because it's a result industry. In the industry today where results matter, then you have to have a great belief when you play a young player. And that is without question. But this club does that. Any young player that comes here has got a chance. I used to say to the parents when I signed a young player, I hope we can play, your boy can play in front of 75,000. All the time. That was my motivation for the parents. Get your boy to play in front of 75,000 people. And that has been the way it always was. We had some fantastic young players, became internationals, and it's a joy to see it. And, well, the will continue because what I see today is exactly what I expected to see. Young boys sitting here all play from Manchester United in front of 75,000 people. And it's fantastic.
Wear that badge is an incredible honour. We have, as a club, continued to feature a youth player in the squad for over 4,000 consecutive games. That's a homegrown player in every matchday squad for over 87 years. That is completely unparalleled. And that comes from the players themselves. It comes from the parents, the families, the guardians, but also from the staff, the manager. Just how important were your staff for you in preparing these young boys for these occasions on the pitch?
Well, all starts at the level that we see here today. The youth coaches that we had started away by with development centres originally. What we used to do, these was not far from the cliff, was a floodlight area, because at the time the cliff didn't have them, and we used to coach and play the young players there. Now, the scouts we had at that time, the mantra was Saturday mornings, Saturday afternoons, Sunday mornings, and they produced. And we had to do the right next thing, is test them, give fundamental technical skills. Now, if you look at one player, and this is a challenge to all the young players. Ryan Gase joined the club at 13 years of age. He signed his first full-time contract at 16 and played to his 41 years of age. That is unbelievable. But that's the challenge for you now. You have to look after yourself. You have to sacrifice. You have to practice. You have to have desire to be a winner. Because this club only wants winners.
Go back and watch the old videos and the old games. That's what your staff did, and that they really immersed the boys in the history of the football club. How important is that for the boys, the parents, to know about our history as the academy?
Well, we did videos a way back. I don't know if they still exist, and I think the history club tells you how we recovered from the Munich disaster. Within 10 years, they won a European Cup. And I say this to you, and this is the question: how many finals do you think I lost in my career?
You've never asked me a question and I don't know the answer.
Because you're supposed to know this. I lost 9 finals at Aberdeen and Manchester United. 9 finals. And you know what it does? The next morning, I was a better manager. You have to handle defeat the correct way. To be a winner, you have to accept defeat as part of your life, but you can correct that the very next day. So all the young players, handle defeat the right way. Make sure you're a winner the next day. I did that. I won 32 finals.
Not a bad ratio, is it? I bet if you think about those 9, they're a lot more.
Well, actually, I could tell you every detail of all the finals I lost, more than the ones I can win. Because it's part of my life. Losing was part of my life. It's not easy. Because your expectation is not just with me and my family, it's with the players, their families, and the supporters. They expect you to win every win.
So we've got lots of young people in the room, and I'm sure they will be intrigued to know, not that I want you to be biased, however, there must have been a couple of standout academy players in your time. Who would you say was the best? And if you can't choose, maybe give us a top 3.
I think that the important thing is we expect all of the players we come through the academy into the full-time professional to be a success, not one to be put in front of the other. But what the advantage we had, the great youth coach, Eric Harrison, fantastic. And I say that, and I notice this in the videos here, I'm seeing all the activities he engaged in, not just football, but Second World War and the First World War, all these things, a part of growing up, knowing the history of your country, right? What I thought Eric Harrison did for me best of all the players he had turned out as human beings. He was fantastic at that. So when I see it's a few of us in there, exactly what I expect, what Eric Harrison would have expected, good human beings. All of them were very, very, all grew up the right way. Because Eric was tough. It made them sort of think of themselves to be human beings. And they will recognise Eric on that window up on the cliff. And somebody made a mistake. He's banging on the window. I'm surprised never caved in. But I'm very lucky to have someone with that.
So, Alex, I know we're here on a bit of a time constraint this morning, but I just want to also finally finish with one of the great phrases that you said was that the player you produce is always better than the player you buy. And that is real words for everybody in this room and for the staff and the coaches too.
Well, that's what Manchester United have always been better at, producing young players. And even if we had to buy them, fine. Because if they're young, you're buying them as Ronaldo and Wayne Rooney, young kids who are 17 years of age. They became the best players in the world, you know. So that the reason for that is because of the upbringing we give them in. You know, we're not easy on them. We give them a challenge for what they were as young kids in Sporting Lisbon and Wayne at Everton was the challenge them to be the best. So the format is right.
Well, it's an interesting thought what he said there, because he talks about sacrifice, he talks about being challenged, and these are quite pertinent words, particularly in the situation that Manchester United find themselves in today, because they have a very big challenge ahead of them over the course of, well, the immediate future, as well as over the course of the next 3 years with Project 21 or whatever it's called, to finally win the 21st league title that has so eluded Manchester United over this past 10 years or so. And challenge is the right word, and that's the right attitude to have. And see, the thing is, back when the boss was in charge, it was a completely different game back then, in the sense that Manchester United were a football club back then. They're not a football club anymore. Now, I know that sounds stupid. Well, if they're not a football club, what are they? Right. They're not a football club anymore. They're much more than just a football club. They are almost like a multinational corporation, okay? And as such, so much of the running of the club has been delegated. So they've got lots of heads of departments and directors of this, directors of that, loan managers, head technicians of this, blah, 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 blah. Whereas back then, there was only a handful of people like running the club. You had the admin staff, you had the chief exec, you had Alex Ferguson, who oversaw most, if not all, of the footballing project. So back then, managers were almost like directors of football and head coaches combined. Okay, so it was almost easier for Alex Ferguson to implement a footballing project and a footballing philosophy that that would sustain the club over the course of Alex Ferguson's time at Manchester United. And I mean, it just shows you the mentality of the guy when he was talking about Sir Matt Busby, and the fact that he gave Sir Matt Busby the props there, which he so rightly deserves, that it was Sir Matt Busby that made Manchester United what it was, okay? And Alex Ferguson wasn't intimidated by that in any way, shape or form. He acknowledged it and he accepted the challenge. And that is the key word, the challenge. And obviously he more than rose to it, and he went on to even greater heights than Sir Matt Busby. And the major problem that United have suffered over the past 10 years has been a lack of a footballing project. And they've been trying to replace Alex Ferguson almost like for like. But they failed to realise that the game's moved on from Alex Ferguson's day. Because as the years went by, Alex Ferguson became more and more a director of football that played a leading role in the first team. But he was a director of football that delegated a lot. So they've been trying to replace someone like that, who is a director of football and a head coach. And it's just not worked. And it can't work with a club the size of Manchester United. It's just too big. So one of the things that I am optimistic about with Ineos is that at the very least, they've put a footballing project in place, and also they've set targets. They have set a challenge of winning the first Premier League title in, the 21st league title, that is. So when you've got sort of a long-term goal, you can start to adjust things on the day-to-day running of the team, and then you can slowly implement things, and you can, work on it and fine-tune the team and whatnot, that will hopefully eventually lead on to winning that 21st title. Because when Alex Ferguson first took over as United manager, it took him, was it 8 years before he won his first league title? So he took over in 86. So that was 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93. 7 years it took Manchester United and Alex Ferguson to win the league from when Alex Ferguson took over. So the club put a bit of faith in Alex Ferguson, and they understood that it was a long-term project, and that they stuck by him. And United haven't stuck by any of the managers. They've backed them in the transfer market ever so briefly, and they've spent money, but they haven't backed them over a sustained period of time and allowed them to implement their vision wholeheartedly. Hopefully now, and a lot of that was down to a bit of a gun-ho approach from the chief executive at the various points, like Merton and the guy before him. Who was it? It was Ed Woodward. And these guys, they weren't footballing men. They were bean counters, basically. They were accountants or lawyers or whatever. They were business people. They weren't footballing men. But now, now they've got footballing people in charge of the footballing project. So, I've said this before, the night is always darkest right before the dawn. I just hope it's not a long night. And going back to what he said there as well, that producing your own players is always going to be better than buying a player. Well, Ruben Amorim has got an opportunity now. He's got a lot of young talent coming through the youth system at the moment that I'm not necessarily saying they're going to be world beaters overnight, but you can slowly bleed them into that first team, and you never know. You might find a gem. Because I know Marcus Rashford has been getting a lot of negative press of late, fair enough, but when he first broke through, he was about 17 and he hit the ground running, and he was scoring goals for Louis van Gaal because he did something similar to what Ruben Amorim's done now. He cleared the decks. Albeit unnecessarily back then, but he cleared the decks, and he needed goals, and Marcus Rashford came in and just started scoring, and he was really good, and he played up front as well. And he went on, and he's done well for Manchester United. Obviously he's faded away a little bit, but initially he done well, and that was all because the youth was given an opportunity. And Ruben Amorim has got the chance now to continue that tradition at Manchester United of blooding young stars. And I know there's a lot of talk with Ineos and this business about, when you sell your young players, you get double the amount in PSR or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I don't really want to see Kobbie Mainoo sold. I don't really want to see Garnacho sold either. I'd rather they stayed and they fulfilled their potential, But United are in a dire situation now, but it's certainly not the worst situation they've ever been in, and it was alluded to there in that clip, because the Munich air disaster happened in 1958, where the team was absolutely decimated. Players died. It was awful. It was tragic, and it's almost set the tone for Manchester United in that they faced their challenges head on. And the fact that it only took 10 years to rebuild that team from a tragedy like that to the point where they would become kings of Europe, winning the European Cup at Wembley Stadium in 1968, just shows you that miraculous things can happen at Manchester United. So when people say to me, "Oh, Man United are, they're 10 years away or they're 6 years away from winning the league," no, they're not. No, they're not. A couple of players can transform this team that Ruben Amorim's got. They can. The penny just needs to drop. A shift needs to happen in the mentality of the team. We do need a couple of players, whether or not they come from the youth system or we buy a couple of astute signings. A couple of players transforms this team and they shoot up the table. So I don't buy this notion that Man United are finished or they're going to get relegated or they're miles and miles away from winning a Premier League title. Blah 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 blah. No, they're not. They just need to make sure they make the correct decisions over the medium to long term on a more consistent basis than what they've been doing over the past 10 years or so. But yeah, I really like that little clip of Alex Ferguson there. He talks about sacrifice and rising to the challenge. That's just the mentality that Manchester United, I don't know, I've lacked over the past 10 years. And hopefully we can rediscover that spirit moving forward under Ruben Amorim and Ineos. But you never know. We'll see. Hopefully it starts tomorrow against, I think we're playing Everton away. 12:30 kickoff maybe. So I'm looking forward to watching that one tomorrow and seeing if the team kicks on a little bit. But what do you guys think? As always, I'm interested to read what you have got to say. So please, thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.